Hello there. My name is Kat. From now on known as Mystery Cat, I guess. I don't know if that name is gonna stick or if I'm gonna change it. I don't know yet, okay? Anyways, so very recently I was just scrolling on Facebook as one does, and I came across some pictures of my town. You know, those old pictures, like from the 70s, from the 50s, from the 40s. And that led me to a rabbit hole because my town, my dear, small, very boring town, absolutely got obliterated during the World War. If you're wondering, I'm from the Netherlands. Hi, that's where the accent is from. I'm so sorry if you cannot understand me. But, so I started wondering, why is my town not known? Because, oh boy, do I have a story today. So basically, what I'm gonna do here is, and I don't know if people are going to like this. I don't know. Just let me know in the comment if you see this or like it or do something. Show your grandma. I don't know. But I'm here today to talk about my town during World War II and why the hell it was so completely forgotten and looked over when people talk about what happened in Europe during the Second World War. So I'm about to give away my location. I don't give a shit. I'm sorry. I don't know if I can edit that out. We'll see later. Anyways, I live in a town called Den Helder. It's a small town with a population of 56,348 people, and it's located all the way in the little north dingalingetje of the Netherlands. We're completely surrounded by water. There is only one way to drive, and it's south, or north if you go in, but south if you go out. There's only one way out. And we are the official Navy port of the Royal Navy, which is pretty cool. But, you know, the town is alive. I wouldn't say thriving, it's dying. Okay, I'm sorry, but it is. But less than a century ago, this town was almost completely wiped off the map. Um, when people talk about the Netherlands and the World War, people want to talk about Rotterdam and, how it's famous for being destroyed, which, is still very, very sad. It's horrible what has happened. Um, but, a lot of people forget about Den Helder, which is fair because not a lot of people know where it is or that it even exists. Even Dutch people. I have met Dutch people that doesn't even know it exists. But yeah, we hold the record, the very unfortunate record of being the most bombed town during World War II. Um, we were bombed over 100 times, mostly by Allied forces. But I'm going to get into that right now. So if you want to stick around, then, let me know. And if you want to see another video on something else, I already have next video in mind. If I want to continue doing this, we'll see. But yeah, welcome to my channel and strap in because here we go. Before the war, Den Helder was a very diverse town, but mostly its citizens were consistent out of Navy personnel. It was a town where there were plenty of job opportunities, in the Navy, shipyard, fishermen, but also local stores and cafes, which profited off of the presence of the countless visitors coming from the Navy, from neighboring countries, or, just every country that just visited our port, I guess. Um, During the 30s, while the rest of the Netherlands is suffering from a heavy economical crisis, Den Helder is only growing in its population and job opportunities, causing the population to grow to nearly 38,000 people in 1939. Um, when the Second World War broke out, both the Dutch and the Germans saw enough advantage points to Den Helder due to not only its convenient location at the sea, at the coast, but of course the Navy base, the military airport, and the large-sized shipyard. So, they were both very interested. The Dutch were very interested in keeping Den Helder as its advantage point, and the Germans were interested in, seizing it for their own advantage, which strategically speaking, yeah, it's a smart thing to do. Don't tell anyone I said that. Oh my God. Um, because of this reason, the military took place in a lot of exercises in and around Den Helder in order to, keep the city from falling into the hands of enemy forces. Um, because if Germany at the time would cross the border to its neighboring country, attacks on the base and the town itself would be unavoidable. In the August of 1939, Den Helder tightens its defense forces along the coast. The Navy puts a special coast guard in place. Along the dunes, plenty of guard posts and strongholds show up. The North Sea is filled with sea mines and other precautions to hopefully keep German forces at bay from the coastline. Local farmers, however, are asked to sacrifice a lot of acres of land in order to flood the land with water to make it harder on the enemy to fall into the Helder, resulting in the destruction of a lot of crops and food, and just it was just overall a very, very bad thing, very sad, because a lot of people lost a lot of shit already before Germany even invaded the Netherlands. um In the heart of the once so peaceful town, locals are preparing to familiarize themselves with the air defense system and the alarms that go with them. So basically, and we still do that to this day. Just now I had to pause recording because every first Monday of the month at 12 p.m., the air alarms will go off just to test them. And since this year or last year, we also get a fucking text alert, which you cannot disable and keep scaring the shit out of me every fucking time. So that's always fun. But back then, the alarms would go off every day so that people would get used to them, so they would know what to do. And they are asked to practice things like evacuation, should things go back, or for an airstrike to take place. And all citizens are asked to turn off all the light sources within their homes at night. So it's harder to see for the enemy, and harder to aim. At the time, a lot of people refused to. They didn't see the point of it. They didn't deem it necessary to do so, which caused the city council to take matters into its own hands. And basically, everyone who refused to abide by these rules and compulsory measures would have their electricity cut off for the whole year. So, a lot of people participated after that in order to keep their electricity, otherwise, things would go bad pretty fucking quickly. On the 14th of May, at approximately 4 a.m., the first German bomb falls onto Den Helder, and as expected, they aimed immediately for the military port and the navy ships that were docked at the time. Panic, breaks out within the city, leaving people terrified at the sound of the air alarm that goes off every hour at this point. And Den Helder manages to defend the city um, up until an hour after the first bombs were dropped on the city of Rotterdam, which destroyed a lot of things. And at this time, Den Helder receives the following orders, which is block the harbors, destroy evacuate personnel and material to England with haste, and this is the last order. We're disconnecting communication and destroying telex machines. I guess I couldn't figure out what a telex machine is, um, and that's on me because, again, English isn't my first language, so I wholeheartedly apologize for my accent and lack of word of rich use of words. I'm sorry, but I guess it's like it was a way of communicating between military forces. I'm not sure. Google would not let me figure it out. Um, Only a few hours after the capitulation, the inhabitants are, getting a new wave of shock. Three German airplanes released bombs onto the center of the city, um, which later was admitted by Germany was a mistake caused by a terrible communication incident. The three bombers were already in the air when the Netherlands surrendered, and either they didn't understand or receive the orders to turn back, which caused parts of the city to be absolutely annihilated on quote unquote accident, which, you know, it was very bad. Things went bad real quick at the time. A day later, German troops moved into the town. They established themselves at the military houses in the city, docked their ships into the harbor, seized control over the shipyard, and take over the small military airport. They also take over the coast batteries, causing Den Helder to become a great target for Allied forces because this town is on its own, it's already a defense stronghold. There are bunkers that were built by Napoleon during his reign of terror that are still standing to this day. There's a lot of things that help this town in its defense, which is both impressive and terrifying at the same time. Should this town be taken over by enemy forces? So I cannot imagine the fear and terror people went through at that time. Um, Nearly 6 weeks after the missed bombing, on the night of June 24th, British bombers fly into the local airspace of Den Helder with the orders to destroy the shipyard. And this bombing took place over the next 3.5 hours, um, which caused 38 casualties and countless citizens to get injured. The fire bombs that were dropped at the time caused for enormous fires to rage through the town, and the Germans at the time used this destruction to their own benefit in their propaganda, and they basically thanked our allied forces for, the mayhem that's happening at that moment. Even though, they aimed for the harbor and not for the people, which is just unfortunate. Um, After the British bombs dropped, nearly 8,000 people leave the city in panic. And even though the threat of violence continues to lure over the town, most people return to their homes only several weeks after they leave. But, they remain on high alert and they are fully prepared to leave again if it was deemed necessary, like if there was another threat of a bombing to come or whatever. In the years that follow, Allied forces continue to bomb the town. Often these bombs are only aimed to destroy the harbor and other vantage points around Den Helder. Unfortunately for the town and its people, only 1 in 5 military personnel from the British military is willing to fly close enough to the targets, which is, I think, 8 kilometers. I don't know how much that is in miles, but they are only 1 in 5 military personnel is willing to fly close enough for the bombs to actually hit the intended targets, which causes more and more destructions, more houses to be completely wiped away off the map. And, it leaves a lot of people homeless. Um, in 1942, Hitler decides to try and build what is known as the Atlantic Wall, stretching along the coast from Norway all the way to Spain, turning Den Helder into a defensive stronghold. Because of this, on the 1st of December or the 1st of November 1943, the German oppressor declares Den Helder off limits for citizens. Only with a special permit called, and I'm gonna butcher this, I'm so sorry, Ausweis, are people allowed into the city to work only during the day, which causes thousands and thousands of people to visit town every day to go to work and leave at the end of the day with a bus or train. And after 6 p.m., the city just becomes a ghost town. Like it's silent. Uh, once busy streets are just empty, and the destruction of everything just leaves for a very grim scenery. So yeah, it's terrible what's happening at that time. Um, in order to build the Atlantic Wall and more strongholds, even the Germans at the time get to building within Den Helder, planning to destroy an entire neighborhood in order to make way for their buildings and plans. On January 20th, 1944, the inhabitants of said neighborhood are ordered to leave their homes within 11 days, and more than 1,800 homes are end up being demolished. A lot of the town citizens that fled stay only several kilometers away in the polder. Many towns and villages surrounding Den Helder welcome more than 3,000 refugees who, were seeking safety. When Allied forces successfully frees the south of the Netherlands from the German oppressors, German troops move to the north in order to still have their defense. During this time, the city is completely off limits for, citizens. Um, and 8 months after the south is freed, 8 months of more terror, Germany finally surrenders and the war is over. What remains in Den Helder after the surrender is more than 300 bunkers spread in and around the town and countless of minefields. And it's funny. Well, it's not funny. It's sad because sometimes, you turn on the news and it's like, hey, we found another bomb or mine from the Second World War on the beach. It just got uncovered. We still find that shit. It's terrifying. Um, even at the time, even the mines in the North Sea causes for the North Sea to be very unsafe for like submarines and ships. And I don't even want to know how long it took to clean all that up because it was just one big mess. And even though at the time the city itself was almost completely destroyed and isolated, and there's little food to go around, most of the town's citizens quickly return home after the war ends. And on Sunday, May 6th, churches are filled to the brim with people dressed in orange celebrating their newfound freedom, which I think is beautiful. They lived in years of fear and terror, and they didn't know if they were going to be alive the next day. And the war is over, and the next day they just come together and celebrate. I think that's absolutely beautiful in a very tragic way because it really shows that humanity can come together despite its differences, even today. Only 2 days after the celebrations, on Tuesday, May 8th, Canadian troops finally reached Den Helder. The town's inhabitants welcomed them with joy, flowers, and the typical Dutch red, white, and blue clothing. Yes, Americans, we have red, white, and blue too. Calm down, okay? I'm sorry. Not long after that, the German forces that surrendered walked through the town like a walk of shame, I guess, retreating to the ships that still remained docked in the harbor in order to return to their home in Germany. After the war, the Netherlands has a detrimental shortage of housing. I'm so sorry, but Den Helder um, got struck worst with it because of the countless bombings. We got bombed over 100 times. There are barely any houses, even today, still standing from before the World War. The house I currently live in actually wasn't even a thing. I just saw a picture that was, um, that is supposed to have my house on it, but it's so far back that my house doesn't exist. It's weird. It's very weird to think about. Um, but despite the housing shortage, oh my God, I hate that word. Thousands of citizens return to Den Helder, but most have no home to return to, which causes the city council decide to only allow those back with the most job potential, like teachers, doctors, pastors, priests, etc. With important jobs to rebuild the community and hopefully establish to become the town they once were. A rigorous decision because this caused countless of people not being able to return back home, and it had the most effect on the elderly who probably lived here all their lives and they just lost everything. Um, but despite the new rules, many picked up all their belongings and attempted to return with, everything they owned, and basically forcing the city to build homes, rebuild, renovate, fix with incredible speed. Like sometimes they were building 70 houses a week. And still, despite the lack of housing, at the end of 1945, the population grows to be a shocking amount of 25,600 people. In 1947, the government declares Den Helder to be the main port of the Royal Navy, the Dutch Royal Navy. Let's be clear here. And the return of the Navy proves to be the key to fix the local economy. Um, because after the war, after the return of the Navy, Den Helder grows its population count to 60,000 people. That is very quick. I don't know what they were doing, what they were drinking, but they were screwing like bunnies over here. But as it were, with the 21st century, the town slowly slows down. People are getting old, people die of old age, and not many young people decide to move here, which I don't blame them. I would move out if I had the chance. And the lively town it was before the Second World War, unfortunately, never was fully restored. You know, the streets over here were booming with people, and it was always, it was a good place to be. And then after the bombs fell, unfortunately, um, you know, it never returned to what it once was, which is very unfortunate because, I'm looking at these pictures and I see a beautiful town with so much potential, but unfortunately, a lot of people don't want to live here because it is a dead end town. Unfortunately, there's only one way in, one way out, and Den Helder kind of got forgotten about despite its importance in the World War and in the time of Napoleon, which it's kind of painful because you know like I said, when people think about the World War in the Netherlands, people think of Rotterdam, people think of Amsterdam, which I get. They are the two more famous cities we have, I guess. But when you look at Den Helder, it has so much importance to it that it got bombed over 100 times, leaving thousands and thousands of people homeless. And mostly by allied forces because they had no other choice. They were ordered to destroy our military port, they were ordered to destroy our airport, our shipyard, just to cut the Germans off from their defenses. And unfortunately, none succeeded, which led to the destruction of the rest of the town. And a lot of people died, and it's just very, very sad. And every year to this day, on the 4th of May, we hold 2 minutes of silence for those who fell. I think every city in the Netherlands has a statue or, some kind of memorial place dedicated to the soldiers, Allied and Dutch, that fell during the Second World War, which is beautiful. And yeah, I don't know why I fell into this rabbit hole. Unfortunately, I don't know anyone old enough that was there, so I can't ask any questions. Um, I thought it was very interesting because a lot of people don't know, and I think a lot of people don't want to know. And it's sad in a way, but um, maybe this town will once again be lively. Who knows? They're building a lot of new shit nowadays, and if I live long enough for this town to be fully restored in glory, then I'll be happy. But for now, I want to move out. I'm not gonna lie, I'm bored here. Okay, there's nothing to do. But if you want to join the Navy and you're Dutch, well, come to Den Helder, I guess. Um, but yeah, let me know your thoughts down below. And if you want me to do more videos like this, then click that like button. Subscribe so you don't miss anything. And I will, you know, like I said, I have a few videos in mind that I want to investigate and do some research on. So I don't know if I'm going to be uploading weekly yet. I'm just starting, and we'll see how this goes. And if you're interested in more subjects like this, if you're interested in history or unsolved crimes, or I'm thinking about doing some supernatural related videos, so watch out for those. And yeah, I'll let me know what you think, and I'll see you guys later. Love you guys. Bye.